Hi everyone, Dead Battery here, and thank you for joining me on my channel. So today's video is going to be pretty awesome, and it was prompted by one of my friends, Retrogamer Gen X. And he likes to go through the history of really awesome retro systems. Some of them I've never heard about, but he goes into such great detail and you're sucked into it and you have to keep watching it. So I'll leave a link in the description below to his YouTube channel. And if you like any kind of retro systems, he's definitely a person to check out. So recently he asked me to be a guest on one of his new adventures. Retrogamer Gen X decided to start a new podcast with two of his friends, Moby and Leland, called Retro Gamer Rewind. And the episode I got to be on was about the right to repair. I'll leave a link in the description below to that video as well. But within the podcast, he's also doing high score for an Atari game called River Raid. Now, I don't own an Atari, so there wasn't a way for me to play this game, but I thought I'd have a look. And while I was looking, I realized Atari really wasn't a thing here in Japan. And I didn't really know why. But I kept looking, and eventually I found an Atari in the junk section with 2 joysticks and a bundle of games. It was a little bit pricier than I would normally go for a junk section find. It was being sold for 41,830 yen, which comes out to $295 depending on the yen rate. But I decided to message in our chat group and ask what this was. And the second Retro Gamer Gen X saw it, he was like, you need to get this. This is a unique system. So I bought it, and one of the games that came with it was River Raid. So I thought it was pretty awesome to be able to play the game on the original console and on a system that I've never had before. So let's have a look at this Atari. Let's learn about what it is, and then we'll look at the games I have, see some gameplay, and then I'll also show you my attempt at a high score for River Raid. So this is the Atari 2800. From what I could find, there was a partnership between Atari and Epoch, and in 1979, Epoch released a redesign of an Atari video pinball machine, as well as a rebranded 2600 that they called the Epoch cassette TV game. And it seems like neither of these were successful. The 2800 was released in October of 1983, shortly after Nintendo's family computer, so unfortunately it didn't do too well in the market because Nintendo dominated the Japanese market. The system looks really nice and clean, and it's got 4 ports for controllers. On the bottom, there are the switches for the channels on your television, as well as if you wanted it in black and white or color. To take the system apart, it's fairly easy. There's just 5 screws on the back. Then you flip it back over and the top lifts off. It honestly doesn't look that bad on the inside. It's definitely a little dusty. Nothing looks that bad on the inside either. However, I am going to take this metal plate off so I can see what's underneath. And it's not held down by anything except the metal's just twisted. So I don't have any pliers upstairs, so I'm just going to use my flush cutters and bend the metal back so that I can pull the front and back metal plate off. So this is what it looks like with the metal plate off. And since it doesn't look that bad, and I don't have any capacitors to do a swap right now, I'm just gonna clean it off. The front and back shells are not that bad either, just a lot of dust trapped inside. So we're just gonna give everything a wipe down, spray all the dust off, and then we'll put it back together. To put the motherboard back in the bottom of the shell, you just have to line up this cord that's supposed to go to the TV. And I had a little difficulty and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't lined up, but if you look at the bottom where the channel switch is and the black and white and color switches, you kind of have to lift them a little bit so they line up with their spots. And once they're lined up, it sits down perfectly. Now we can put the top back on and then put all the screws back in. So let's go through the games I got in this bundle, and I think you'll be surprised by one of them. After my husband saw it, he told me all about it, so I had to look it up. This is the game that started it all. It's called River Raid, and you control a fighter jet over the river of no return, and you're behind enemy lines. And the goal is to navigate by destroying tankers, helicopters. You can even destroy your fuel, but don't destroy them all because you do need them. This is actually considered one of the best-selling games of 1983 and the second best-selling after Miss Pac-Man. I would definitely say out of all the games I have, this is my favorite. And if you'd like to see my high score, stay tuned. Now, two of these games that came in the bundle were called Sword Quest. One was called Earth World and one was called Fire World. Now, as you can see from this game, it's basically just running around and I don't know what's going on, so I looked it up. And each game is based off of the elements. You have earth, fire, water, and air. This game follows twins named Terra and Tor, whose parents were killed by King Tyrannus. And this prompted a prophecy by a wizard that the twins would slay Tyrannus. There's a lot more to the plot of these games. It has to do with being raised as commoners, and this was to help them avoid being killed by the king. It does seem like the games go in some kind of order where earth is first, then fire, then water, then air. Let me know in the comments if you've played these games. As you can see, it's basically just running around, and if I hit one of the side bumpers on the joystick, it does take me to this different screen, and both of them are different, but I cannot tell you how to do this. I struggled, I don't know what's going on, and I'm not too sure if I'd be able to beat this game. This game is called Star Raiders, and it's considered a space combat simulator. As the player, you assume the role as the starship fighter pilot, and you have to protect your starbase from the invading forces, and they are called Xylons. And it has to do with plotting, and there's a 3D cockpit view and a 2D galactic map view. However, every time I turn this game on, I just get this. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to get out of it. So I don't know if my game's stuck or if there's something else going on. Let me know in the comments if you know how I changed this, or if I have a faulty game, because I'm not too sure what's going on and I can't figure it out. Another game in the collection is Asteroids, and if you've ever played the arcade game, it's basically the same but with colors. The object of the game is to shoot and destroy the asteroids and the saucers without colliding with them, which seems great, except I'm not very good with the controller, and as you can tell, I failed miserably. This game is Pac-Man, and this one has an interesting history with it. It was compared to the arcade version, however, as you can see, it doesn't look that good. And in 1982, Electronic Games magazine actually published their first bad review for an Atari game, and it was this one. I also have a copy of E.T., and this was supposed to be based off the movie. Now, this is my interesting game, and I kind of giggled when I saw it, and then my husband told me about it. Now, they wanted it to come out for the Christmas season in 1982, but when they released it, it had very negative reviews, and it was actually considered one of the worst games of all time. As you can see from the gameplay, it's very confusing, and Once I get trapped in a hole or whatever this area is, I cannot get out of it because the second I move, I drop back in. And at the same time, you're getting chased by somebody. And once they catch you, they drag you back to these houses. Because this game did so poorly, that this game actually ended up being thrown away and ended in a lot of landfills. And a lot of people don't own them. So having one of these, I guess, is a rarity. I definitely have a copy of a good old school Space Invaders, and this one is awesome. I am decent at it, but it makes the best sounds ever, and it's definitely a fun game to have. This one is based off a Taito arcade game, and you operate a laser cannon to shoot at incoming enemies from outer space. This game is called Combat, and it's pretty cool. It's got different selections for if you want to do tank battle or biplane or jet fighter, and there's even a part that's invisible tank. The controls are a little backwards. What you think is forward is not actually forward, and you do turn. But this definitely looks like a fun game, and I am going to challenge my husband. I'm sure I can, and I'd really like to win the trophy at some point. I did forget to show one game, and I think that's because it was in the Atari system because I was playing it, but it's called Missile Command. You have to stop these incoming missiles from hitting the rest of your base. You're a player and you have 6 cities and they're being attacked by ballistics missiles. And you have to launch your own missiles to intercept their missiles. So what do you think about my Atari 2800? I think it's pretty awesome that I found one, and I found one in Japan. As mentioned, it was released in Japan, but finding Atari out here is not that common. If you want to see the high score I got on River Raid, go ahead and follow the link to Retrogamer Gen X's YouTube channel and watch the Retro Gamer Rewind podcast, and you'll get to see my high score. But let me know in the comments what you think I got. I surprised myself with how well I did, but it definitely took me a couple days, and my hands hurt because I'm not too sure how to hold that controller properly in my hands without it moving around too much. I think the system's pretty neat. I've never owned an Atari. I don't know a lot about the games, and it seemed like some of the games were hit and miss. I understand that games were pretty basic and sometimes it was just running through a map. But even just watching it on the TV, I had a lot of trouble understanding what was going on. So I definitely think I need to do a little research, maybe have a look at some of the cartridges, since I'm not too sure if all of them are functioning properly. Let me know in the comments if you have an Atari, and if you do, what kind, and what's your favorite game. I'll also leave a link in the description below to my husband's new YouTube channel, I'm Sure I Can. And he's gonna also attempt River Raid and see if he can beat me. But I think I got him. I did really good at that game, and I think I can do better. Thank you for watching, and as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye!